Today we're going to make small salad plates. I have run out of them in my house, so I decided that this might be a good thing to show you how to do today. So um, again, we're going to start out with a ball of clay, and as you can see, it's about a pound. And that's about the size of a plate that I would like to make today. So I'm just going to lightly dampen my board. You should just be able to drag your hand across it. You don't want it too wet. And then I'm just going to stick this little ball in the middle like that. And I'm going to start pounding my clay down. And when you think about centering for making a plate, you want to center wide. So I'm going to center out here because my plate's going to be about this big. There's no sense in centering all tight in here and then having to pull all that clay out. So I just center a nice wide pancake of clay. And again, this pounding is helping me pre-center. Excuse me. And once I feel like it's pretty even all the way across the top, I'm going to start spinning the wheel. I've got my throwing apron on today so I don't get wet. Okay, you can see how it's a little wobbly already. So I'm going to add some water here, not too much, just enough for my hands not to stick. Okay. And I'm going to start my three-step centering process. So I'm going to go into the side here like I showed you last time. So hand here, and I'm just making a ridge. This ridge is going to let the bottoms of my hands pull that clay up. So the second step is to bring the palms of your hands together and push the clay. And you can see how my hands are moving a little bit. That means it's pushing against me. And we try really hard to not let the clay push us around. So I'm going to work on that a little bit. And the third step is to cup your hand around, and then you can place your fist down or you can blade your hand. Okay, and then we just start over, but I'm going to clean up real fast. I want to make sure that I can see what I'm doing and you can see what I'm doing. So I'm just going to clean up that a little bit. Okay, again, placing water on just enough. We're going to go into the side, make a ridge, and we're going to push up, palms together. Okay, and then this is where all my mess is. So we're going to try to incorporate that into the pot. So I'm going to put my hand here, and I'm going to blade my hand, and I'm going to hold steady. When I hold like this, I'm forcing the clay to come into my center. Okay. Now, I've got a little nub there, but that's not too bad. Okay, so as you notice, as I keep centering, I'm going in and in and in. And so we've got this little ball of clay here, which I want to center wide. So I'm going to start to push this down. And the way I'm going to do that is by using the third step. So I'm going to blade my hand, and this one's curled around. And I'm just going to press all the way down and wide. So I'm starting in the middle, and I'm pressing towards the edge of the clay. I'm using this part of my hand. You can see where the clay accumulated from that movement. Okay, so we're going to do that again. So I'm going to wrap my hand around for support. I'm going to blade my hand using this part of my hand. I'm going to go from the middle, and I'm going to press it out towards the side or the edge of the clay. Now this is still not centered, but I'm trying not to go in too tight because then you just have to move all that clay back out. And I like to be as efficient as I can on a kick wheel. things take a little bit more time, so I kind of try to save time where I can. Okay, so I'm going to go back into the side here, making my ridge. And I'm going to put my palms together and push in. Excuse the noise. Kicking makes some noise. And I'm going to blade my hand here and press down. And I'm forcing the clay to move into my center. Okay. Still a little wobble right here. I don't know if you can see it. Okay, we're just going to clean this up a little bit. And again, we're going to do the same thing. So I'm going to make my little ridge here. And again, we're moving back in, but that's okay. Palms together, press in. I'm just forcing the clay to move into my center. And we're going to blade out. I'm pressing down in the middle. And then all the way to the edge. Like that. And I think I've got one more time to go and I'll have it centered. This clay is a little hard. And I know that I've talked about to my students about using clay that's too hard. It really does not do you a service. It's a disservice to you. So if your clay's too hard, just slake it down and then re-wedge it. And that's going to save you a lot of time and frustration. I should have done this with this clay, but I got lazy. So I totally understand not wanting to do that process. But it really does save you time. Okay. This is centered now. So again, we're going to start thinking about where our plate's going to be. Probably going to be about this size. It's about that's my goal. So we're going to start pulling this clay down and out. Okay? So I'm going to use my sponge. My fingers are here, and I'm going to press my sponge on top of my fingers. And I'm just going to pull down. And then press out. Okay, and let's do that again so you see that. So we're going to push down. Now, you got to be careful with plates because you'll lose your bottom if you're not careful. So I'm going to test and see how much clay I have after this pull. So I pulled out, right? And we're going to press down. Okay? So there's your large pancake. That's going to be the bottom of your plate, okay? Okay, now I'm going to take my tool, my needle tool, and I'm just going to stab this, okay? And so I can see where the clay was. I have that much clay. That's a lot of clay. I want about that much on the bottom. And so I can go down a little bit more, which is exciting. Now this time, this is going to be the bottom of my plate, okay? So I'm going to go down this time. Same process, pushing down and pulling back. Okay, now when you start to get dry, when you do this part, if your hands are dry, you're going to pull this little rim of clay off, and then you lose that clay. So make sure during this that you have enough water. Because this is going to be the rim of my plate, and I don't want to lose that because I don't have a lot of clay here. So we're just pulling back to here, okay? So this is like when you're making a cup, you go in and you pull back, but you want to save this wall because this is going to be what you pull for the rim of your plate. Okay, so we're going to do that again. So fingers down, sponge on top, and we're just gently coming back. And notice how slow my fingers move. I let the clay go all the way around once before I pull. And every time that I'm pulling, I'm doing that. Okay. So we're just going to make that rim nice and packed. So I'm just holding here and putting my sponge on top just to pack that rim in. Okay. I'm just going to clean this up a little bit. Now I'm going to test this again. Oops. So, all right, that's about where I want to stop. I'm right there. And that's going to give me a little room to trim, not a lot. Okay, so now I'm just going to take that hole out that I made. Now, if you don't want to test your bottom going that fast, you can stop the wheel. I showed this last time. You can stop the wheel and just put your needle down and move your finger to where it is, the clay is. And then you've got your gauge about how much clay you have. So that's how much I have. And I'm just going to clean that up, erasing that hole. Okay, perfect. And I don't want, I don't like to have a spiral on my plates because if you're trying to cut on your plate, it makes it uneven. So I'm going to really work to get that spiral out. Any unevenness I want to erase on a plate. So I'm just going back and forth. So what's happening under the sponge is this. And I'm just pressing ever so gently back and forth. And this is compacting the clay so that I don't run the risk of a stress fracture or a stress crack. Okay, and then you can always just put your sponge on top for support. I recommend that you always throw with two hands and never one. One hand throwing is just not stable enough. I know some people who can do it, but why? When you have two hands, you can always just put both hands together. Okay, so now we're going to pull up. We're going to pull up a small cylinder, and then we're going to pull the wall down. So I'm going to start right here, and I'm going to make a little ridge right here for my fingers to go. Okay, I'm going to clean this up so you can see. All right, so I'm going to, my thumb is underneath that ridge, and inside I'm pinching with this middle finger. The other fingers are just there for support. So I'm going to pinch up. And notice how slow I'm going. Okay, so when you are on your electric wheel, a lot of times people get really super excited, and as they get excited, their foot pushes down on the pedal, and the wheel goes really, really fast. And this is not the time to go fast. So just take your foot off the pedal and just go at a really nice slow rate. So again, I made my ridge, and I'm going to pull up. Usually I teach that you pull from the middle to the top first and then from the bottom to the middle. But this wall is so short, there's really no top. I mean, there's no middle here. It's just going to be so short. So, but every time I do pull up, I pack my rim. So you can do it like this or like that. But that allows my rim to be nice and even, and also it doesn't ever get too thin. Because as I pull this rim out, this clay is going to get thinner. And so I need a good amount of clay to make it come down to be a plate. So I'm going to go up one more time. All the way to the top. And then I'm just going to pack my rim. Okay, and then you're going to grab your rib. Okay. And I'm just going to put the rib down at the bottom. Can you see that? And I'm just going to start to, with these two fingers, I'm going to start pushing the wall down onto that rib. Okay? And I go really slow because it's easy to jab this rib right into the side of your pot or your plate. And then you have to start over after all that work. So just cleaning up here. And again, I'm going to go really slow. I'm just pushing the wall down on top of the rib. Okay. Notice how my rim is getting thinner because it's growing this way. Okay, and I'm going to go one more time. A little bit of water here. And this time I'm going to put the rib down onto my back, and I'm going to push down until it reaches the rib, like that. And this is just a basic, simple little salad plate. but we use them all the time. And so I'm just going to make a ton of them today so I can have them in the house. Okay. And I'm just cleaning up. I'm making sure my rim looks good, taking the water off. I take as much water off of every piece that I can so that when it's drying, the water doesn't inhibit the drying process. So, and that's that. So now I'm just going to put my rib here, and I'm making a little ridge. I'm going to stop the wheel and grab my wire tool. It's hard for you to see that. And then I'm just going to pull towards me like that. And it's done. Thanks, guys, for watching. I hope you have a great week.